all this talk about ToneX 1, let's try and build a pedal board around it. This may or may not see the light of day, but I thought it would be an interesting exercise anyway. So this channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Okay, so I'm utterly convinced that ToneX 1 has some really good kind of dumble pedal platform tones, which tend to be what I would use for live use with my HX Stomp. I want to try and gig with the HX Stomp and a foot switch by itself as a part of like a really small rig, which has kind of made me think, first of all, the ToneX 1 is going to be covering the dumble type presets. Now, what I think I would do, and what this is currently set up with, is having one clean, and then if I press it again, I get a dirty sound. So that's kind of the amp and reverb covered to some extent, right? So I'm thinking this pedal, which I demoed earlier in the week, is kind of useful in terms of having a bunch of different outputs and an effects loop if I need that. So I'm thinking maybe the wet effects would go in here, and then I can kill the wet effects with the effects loop. It's got a doubler as well, which I don't know whether I necessarily use live, but crucially as well, 2 XLR outs. So that's the KMA Endgame Duality Calibrator, ToneX 1. Now I need a couple of drives at least, right? So probably the Angry driver will be on there. But for now, I think the Boss OD3 is going to be kind of handy. And as there's that boost on there, maybe I could get away with just having the one drive, because that could cover the rhythm, and then I click this for the solo. So that could be nice. What are we going to use for delay? I actually don't have too much in the way of delay pedals. Maybe the Eventide H90 for the kind of wet effects, which then makes it a little bit more difficult to power. So ideally with this, I'd have a delay which could run off 9 volts. I'm trying to think of anything I've got that could do that. I don't think I've got anything. But anyway, let's see how this stuff stacks up and sounds together. The first thing that I'm kind of liking about this is relative simplicity. This is just kind of a mock-up. I don't know if you guys ever build like a mock-up board to test whether these ideas would work. I think it's kind of semi-fun. So that's kind of 2 channels. The effects loop here just has the H90 in it. and the ToneX is running some reverb at the moment. Whether I'd leave that on or not, I'm not totally sure right now. It's just kind of mocking up an idea. And here, I've just got the one additional gain stage here. But because I've got my 2 channels here, and the other thing I've got that this endgame has is the doubler. So it kind of covers quite a lot of bases. Here's a question for you guys around something that I think about a little bit. Typically, as I'm using something like an HX Stomp or a Helix, in terms of being able to solve for issues like a board breaking down or a pedal, like what do you do if you need to have a backup for this sort of thing? I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. That's kind of where the traditional pedal board for me like gives me a little bit of the willies, where it's like, okay, but what if something here doesn't work? Like, how do I problem solve for that? Or can I just pull out a spare something? Do you need like 2 power supplies? Do these things sometimes break? I was doing a gig with my battery supplied Harley Benton pedal board, and I kind of just lost my nerve a little bit, because it's like, well, what happens if that battery pack goes down? It's internal to the board. I'm thinking of you, maybe Alec, when I asked this question, and some of the other guys maybe in the Line 6 MIDI Man Scientist group, like what do you do to solve for things like that where you need a backup live? Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts if you have them. Do you need like a double of everything, or do you just have like a simple, like my HX Stomp, take that along, where it's like, well, if everything were to break, at least the HX Stomp, I know I could do like a bare bones gig on it. I don't know. So if you've got your ToneX kind of set up to, I know Michael Westbrook, I think he's been touring a ToneX board. I think John Wright Music, he's a channel on YouTube that you should check out, has also put together a board on this stuff. But I'd love to know your thoughts. This was not a video sponsored by ToneX. I just felt like I wanted to try this because it was something intriguing to me. Something about that ToneX 1 feels like it kind of belongs on a board being experimented with. They did send me the ToneX one, by the way. But yeah, they've not sponsored this video. Cheers.